Okay, we're back here on Is It Prophecy here on Israel National Radio at Root Sheva, and the show is simulcasted as Messiah Hour on YouTube. You can email me at messiahhour@gmail.com. We're continuing the conversation with Shira Nussdorf. Now, Shira, we're going to have some interesting clips coming up. Tell us a bit about these clips.
Well, it was a really nice experience to be able to push it forward. You let me come on the show and give me a voice, and I really appreciate that. And so I wanted to do that for other women who were there. I interviewed a Neve student. I interviewed a woman who lives in Har Nof. I interviewed a girl from New York that came to show support to her sisters here in Israel. And it was a really great experience being able to connect people with our voices. We do that through prayer. We do that through talking. We do that through even listening. And it's really great to be able to have a platform that's sneus, that's kosher, that women can express themselves. So I really appreciate what you've done and what the Israeli News Radio has done.
All right, great. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to play these clips of people that were at this prayer event. And if you listen to the show, by the way, it's Wednesday, December 17th. The prayer event was on Monday, December 15th. And then we're going to end the show with Rebbetzin Heller giving a speech at Kever Rachel. So, Shira, thank you very much.
What's your name and what made you want to be part of the Kever Rachel trip with Rebbetzin Heller?
My name is Rachel Mosesen, and I recently came in from New York on a trip to visit. The reason I chose to go on the Kever Rachel trip with Rebbetzin Heller, first of all, I thought it was a really beautiful thing to commemorate the Shloshim of the people that were killed in Har Nof. I feel that it really, the purpose of my going was really to come together as a community and to really remember them and pray for them and really bring them into our hearts and not just let it pass by and be one of those horrific incidents. So that was one of the reasons I went. Rebbetzin Heller is a huge figure, an incredible woman, and that's definitely one of the incentives. So yes, I believe I'm glad I did.
Where were you when you first heard about the attack in the synagogue in Har Nof?
I was in New York at the time. I actually had a very interesting experience when I found out what happened. I used to live in Har Nof a couple years ago, and it was my community. It was my family. It was my home. And when I was so far away, thousands of miles away, my first reaction was to just get on an airplane and come here and give everybody a hug. And I couldn't. So that was frustrating at the time.
But wouldn't you have been scared if all this was happening?
It's interesting because you'd think so. You'd think we'd be afraid. But it's interesting because it brings up all kinds of emotions. First you get angry, and then there is that fear. But over the dominant emotion of everything would definitely be to just be there and sit next to those families and really I was just really in awe, especially after hearing their reactions. And I know some of these women personally. So being here right now is really very special because I feel like I can show them and just even though I'm just one simple person and they've met and been in touch with so many women and being menachem them
to show comfort and wish them comfort in their time of mourning.
Exactly. However,
Hi, what's your name and what made you go to Kever Rachel with Rebbetzin Heller for the Shloshim of the Har Nof Kodishim?
Okay, I'm Chava Burnham, and I feel very connected. We're Har Nofers, and we're all like family, and we all lost brothers. And so we wanted to be there, and we also wanted to be able to daven for the people who are still injured. And it's a very, very important part of why we were there. And then, of course, we each have our own tefillah. That when we're by Mama Rachel, they have to come out because you're by your mother, and you want to tell her all the things that mean so much to you, and then that she should please stand for us in tefillah with Hashem.
And who are some of the people that are still
injured after 30 days that we should be praying for? Oh, this will be very important. Please daven for Chaim Yechiel ben Malka. His situation is not good right now. For Eitan ben Sarah. For Shmuel Yerucham ben Bela. For Yitzhak ben Chaya, who was one of the policemen. And Yaki Erlich, who was I can't remember his mother's full name, Yaakov Erlich, who was a responder from Hatzalah who broke his leg in trying to get out of the shul.
Now, you live in Har Nof. Why was this such a shock that something like this could happen in your community?
Okay, I can't say it was such a shock for all of us. I guess that everybody wants to lull themselves into complacency and think that, this wouldn't happen. So, to us, we're so far from East Jerusalem. We're so far from the scene of other piguim. And, it's a quiet residential neighborhood. No one goes through Har Nof to get to anywhere else. So maybe they felt themselves a little bit enclosed and insulated. But there's no place that's safe for all. We just have to all realize we're in Hashem's hands, and things will go exactly as He wants. And this went as He went because He loves us. And sometimes, like a parent has to punish their child as much as they love them. This is what we need to help jog us out of our complacency.
I heard that one of the terrorists involved actually worked in the store very close to the synagogue. Do you know if that's true, or did you know this person?
No, I did not know him. I did hear the same rumor that you did. One thing I think that a lot of Har Nofers are pushing for now is that we do not want Arabs working in our neighborhood. Neve no longer has any Arabs working for that institution, and I think a lot of the stores, I know one was closed for a couple of days in order to make sure to get new workers because they're not going to have Arab workers anymore.
I saw yesterday that in Sydney, Australia, where there was a terrorist attack, there's a new campaign that says, "We'll ride with you," because Sydney is trying to show that just because one Arab wasn't good and was bad, that we shouldn't judge all Arabs in that way. How would you respond to somebody that would say, why should you punish all Arabs and attack their financial holding because of two?
Okay. I think if it is our responsibility to protect ourselves, like any parent would protect their own children. It's not our responsibility to provide for everyone to have financial stability. There are plenty of Jews who need sustenance, who need to be able to support their families. And I do not feel that is our primary responsibility. Our primary responsibility is to the safety of our own nation.
Now,
and no one else is doing it, so we definitely have to do it.
Now, I know there are women of all different ages and backgrounds on this trip. Do you normally daven or go on activities with women of all ages and levels, or was this something special and unique, and what do you think brought all these women together?
Okay, actually, it's not really that unique. Wherever you go into a shul, and you'll find that among the people who passed away, as well as the other people who were davening and who were praying in the shul that where the massacre took place. In all shuls, you'll find people of all ages, not only of all ages, many times of many different levels of religiosity, because we all feel as one nation, we all pray together, and our prayers help to lift each other's prayers up to God.
We're going to say now Psalm 23, Tehillim, Kaf Gimel, for Refuah Shalema, L'chaim Yechiel ben Malka, who was injured in the Pigua 30 days ago, and we wish him a Refuah Shalema. Here we go.
Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai Ro'i, Lo Asar, Bin Otet Zeya Yitzeni, Lo Amen, Kol Nidalei, Nafshi Yeshovet Yatcheni, B'Mazle Tzedek, B'Man Shalom. גם כי אלך בגז המוות לא יורא כי אתה עמדי שבטך ושנתך ועמך ינחמוני תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורר תשענת בשמן ראשי כוסי רוויה אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים
your name and what brought you to Kever Rachel today?
Hi, my name is Anna Yusupova. I am part of New Yerushalayim Seminary, and my Rebbetzin was speaking there in commemoration of the 4 rabbis that were killed, and just wanted to pay my respects and hear memories of them and know the purpose of why Hashem did what he did.
Now, did you grow up religious, and is praying something that it comes easy for you?
No, I grew up pretty secular, and I've been on a journey to find my Jewish roots for the past 3 months, and I have learned that these 4 rabbis died in Kiddush Hashem, and I just wanted to understand what that was all about, and now I come to Kever Rachel, and I pray, and I relate to understanding that everything is done from Hashem, and I agree with all his decisions, and I hope that they have Aliyah Shloshim.
Do you speak Hebrew?
I speak a little bit of Hebrew.
So what's it like for you to pray in Hebrew? Do you still feel connected to the words, even though you might not know what they mean?
So I learned how to read Hebrew recently, and I pray in English, but I do try to say the brachas, at least the beginnings of them, in Hebrew to make it more powerful.
You talked about your Rebbetzin. Your Rebbetzin experienced a great hardship when her son-in-law was hurt. Have you seen a difference in the way she gives over classes, or have you seen her been affected by this tragedy?
So I met Rebbetzin Heller 3 months ago, and she's a very strong woman, and it's always an honor to be in her presence because she's always so powerful in all her messages that she relates to us, and this was just another thing that she was able to personally experience, and she was able to teach us that everything happens from Hashem, and it was just nice to be in that atmosphere and listen to her speak about something that touched home so closely.
Okay, now we're going to Rebbetzin Heller. This is her speech she gave at Kever Rachel on December 15th.
Darkness is the self-maisa. They're wrong. So when you look at different people who have the capacity to do this, one of the great examples that you could look upon was the late Kleisenberger Rebbe. He lost his wife and 11 children in the Holocaust. And in the DP camps, what was he busy doing? He was making shidduchim. He was known. Once even a man came to him and said, Rebbe, you're extremely insensitive. Don't you realize where we are? Don't you know what we've been through? How could you go in that direction? As though he didn't know what loss was. And as the man was talking, what was he thinking? He reminds me of this girl, Tucker. Okay. And he made a shidduch, okay? So this is what you have to do in the times of greatest darkness. You have to tell yourself, if you have bitachon in Hashem, you have to put light where there's darkness. You have to move on. You have to take every bit of light that you have and move on. So the question is, in what's light? So there's a pasuk that tells us, Ki ner mitzvah v'torah or. The only light that we have is Torah. Why? Because all of the darkness is illusion. It's all illusion. This life is very brief. What seems to us to be tragic is not necessarily tragic. And I'll give you an example of this. If you take the fate of the 4 people who were nifter in this terrible pigua, their fate is not tragic. It says that the people who die al Kiddush Hashem are taken to the highest and most eternal place of elevation. What's tragic? What's tragic is no response to it. That's tragic. That's taka tragic. But we don't see. It's an olam hafuch. We don't see the emes. The only emes that we have, the only thing that penetrates all of this darkness is Torah. So in emes v'yatziv, which we say in the Shema, the word emes is repeated 8 times. There are 8 repetitions of the word emes, which is a remes of Chanukah. Chanukah is the time where we had the victory of light over every possible form of darkness, because Yavan was the ultimate darkness. The word Yavan in Gematria is 66. The word Heichal, which means sanctuary, is only 65. The illusion is that humans taking control over their own lives, which is what Greek philosophy was about. It was the philosophy in which humanism stems. The idea of humans being the center of the world, as opposed to God being the center of the world. Greek philosophy had enormous appeal because we're B'Tselem Elokim, so we feel a certain level of empowerment. Let's go back to Rachel. So here we have Rachel, being buried in this place of nowhere, bringing light to this place of nowhere. How did she do it? So, of course people ask, as they should, as everyone should, what are we supposed to do? Yes, we should change, but, weiter, what? So we don't know. We don't have Nevi'im nowadays. And here's what we do know. So Rachel, all know this Gemara. When Rachel went before Hashem to plead with him not to bring about the Korban, she wasn't the first one to make that plea. The Avos HaKadoshim had been before Hashem, and Hashem answered them very reasonably. This is where the Jews are, this is what they did, and this is what they need for Tikkun, and there's nothing more to say. So when Rachel came before him, what happened? He answered her. This is what they did, and this is what has to happen. And she said, so, what does that mean? So have Rachmanis anyway. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to make sense. Who said it has to make sense? It doesn't have to make sense. There's a level above human understanding. L'mala min hadat. That's called rachamim pshutim, simple mercy. So Hashem answered her, V'shavu barim l'gvulam. We're going to return to our borders, and it'll be not because we're so worthy. You know who we are. I know who we are. We all know who we are. It's because of Hashem's simple mercy that He'll bring us back because He wants to bring us back, but we have to be open to this. So Maharal says being open means only one thing. Rambam, the rationalist, also says being open is enough. He says that we know that the place of Tikkun has to be at the Shorish, it has to be at the place of destruction. We know with absolute certainty that the second Beis HaMikdash was destroyed because of needless hatred. Now, no one ever gets up in the morning and says, I think I want to hate someone today. Who should it be? My boss, my coworker, somebody from the other political party. Who? No one ever thinks like that. It's not normal to think like that. People always think when they hate somebody, it's because there's a very good reason. Look at what he did. Look at what she did. What do you mean? So hatred is senseless because we have no control over events. And whatever Hashem wants to bring about is to challenge us to bring light in a dark place. So instead of hating the person who may have brought about wrongness and may have brought about evil, the response has to be to bring light. And I want to tell you how far that goes. I was just reading about the differences between Avraham and Yishmael. Avram was about chesed. Yishmael had the midah of chesed, has the midah of chesed in a certain sense, hospitality, whatever. What's the difference between them? So the difference is where Avram's chesed comes from and where Yishmael's chesed comes from. Avram's chesed came from a midah called shiflas ruach, absolute humility. Where do we see his great humility? Avram didn't understand why Hashem was destroying stone. He didn't understand it. Why didn't he understand they were evil? Why shouldn't he understand them? It's because people will misinterpret it. They'll just say, every so often terrible things happen, there were natural calamities, there's no meaning. But when Hashem told him he's going to destroy it anyway, what did Avraham say? Anochi afar ve'efer, I am dust and ashes, I'm nothing. His kindness came from his feeling, I'm nothing. So he empathized with every other person. He could feel any other person because his ego didn't stand in his way. When your ego doesn't stand in your way, then the other person is just as important as you are. Whatever they need feels like what you need. Wherever they're standing feels like you're standing there. That was Avraham's rachamim. What's Yishmael's chesed? The Zohar Kodesh says that he has a spiritual part, which we observe. So his chesed comes from saying, I am in charge and I can fix it. It has to do with shtaltanut. It has to do with, yes, I want to bring about a change on my own terms. He loves freedom. That's his main inner force. He got that from Hagar, who was willing to leave Avram's house to go back to Egypt for the sake of freedom. She said, his love of freedom means he'll submit to no one. So anyone who isn't him is a threat. She's willing to do chesed and to pray and to do everything as long as what? He's in charge and he's centralized. So the difference between the chesed of Abraham and the chesed of Yishmael is it coming from a place of anava or is it coming from a place of gaiva? So if you're asking what we could take on, we have to stop sinas china. But the only way this will happen, and the rachamim, we have to feel for each other, people who disagree with us, people who are more than us, people who are less than us, people who irritate us by being more, people who irritate us by being less, is when we identify them with them completely, which could only come from absolute anava. So the merit of Rachel Imeinu, who was able to say it doesn't have to make sense. We should feel true rachamim on each other, daven for each other, and go upstairs and go for it. I just want to remind you of one person to daven for. There's a former student of Neve who she has a genetic situation, and now she has leukemia, which apparently is complicated by this situation. So she seemed to be doing well, but I got a call just at 2 o'clock today that her condition suddenly went all the way down, and she's in an induced coma, and they don't know what will be. So her name is Maya Miriam Bas Mary. It's a strange name, I realize. Maya Miriam Bas Mary. Mary. Bas Mary. Mary. M-E-R-R-I. Mary. Okay. Maya Miriam Bas Mary. Okay, so include her in all of the tefillas, and of course for the pitzuim. And amongst the pitzuim, as you know the three names you've been davening for all along. My son-in-law, Shmuel Yerucham ben Bela, for Eitan ben Sarah, who just had a bris yesterday of a grandchild, who his daughter waited 6 years for. Okay, but you should just be aware, and this should be part of your tefillas and where your heart is, that Chaim Yechiel ben Malka is not doing well. And he needs his tefillas very, very much. So everybody else is not doing so badly. But we daven for everyone.
All right, that's the end of our program. Thank everyone for listening in. This is It Prophecy on Israel National Radio, Route Sheva. You can find the show on YouTube under Messiah Hour, and you can email me at messiahhour@gmail.com. Everyone, have a great day.